hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki, and on Street Talk we deal the political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. Now, joining me tonight,
Dennis Burnside,
Charles Thomas,
Paget Maynard.
All right, gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about, but Patrick, you were saying something about Arizona and Texas and what other state?
Okay.
Arizona, Texas, and
Georgia.
Florida. So what?
Well, the Arizona so-called election counted, whatever names they put into it now. You know, people got different names for it now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this recount with the ninjas turned up that Trump lost by 360 votes more than originally counted. So this was supposed to prove that he won. Saturday night, Trump was in Georgia having his rally, and he started out about how the Arizona count proved what he'd been saying, that it was rigged, that he won by a landslide, and the people cheering.
Mm-hmm.
Now, either he doesn't understand, he can't read, or he's just plain stupid.
all of the above.
All of the above.
Mhm.
Okay. And he is touting it out around the place that he won, and the people are cheering, believing it. Now, what would you say about a person like that, where his own people, the ninjas, because they were supposed to prove everything, oh, this, and they came back with an answer, you lost, yet again. How many times he hear that now? 60-something times now. He already lost.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, go ahead, Dennis.
Well, the recount was a sham. Everyone knew that.
Mm-hmm.
The cyber ninjas had no experience whatsoever in election verification. And the United States has a long history of verifying votes overseas that had always been credible until the Bush administration came in. And we could talk about that another time and why.
That's the
But-
Bush-Gore
Yeah, Bush-Gore.
fiasco.
Bush-Gore, if we just step back in time just for, 21 years ago, Bush-Gore was the first time in election history that exit polls did not match the results. And it was conspicuous. Exit polls are always a gold standard for verifying elections worldwide. It's what UNICEF, the UN, other organizations used when they went to Central South America, Eastern Europe, et cetera, where new democracies were having elections that still had the pressure of totalitarianism on the voting populace. So they'd go in, and one of the tools they used was exit polls. Now, exit poll is usually so accurate because you don't ask someone what they're going to do, what they plan to do, what they think they're
Right,
going to do.
right.
You ask someone what you just did. You just left the booth, who'd you vote for?
Right, yeah.
It's real simple.
Yeah.
And until 2000, it had always been uncannily accurate, even within percentages. The percentages of the votes that showed who won, who lost, usually matched the exit polls. Well, that didn't happen in 2000, and we know why with the Bush administration. And ever since then, we've had this increasing by degree distrust and contestation of elections in the United States. And in 2020, it hit the point now where you now have, as a result of that, people out here who have no faith in the electoral process. They think
Right.
it's all rigged. So you had 3 official recounts in Arizona, all showing that Biden won. Then you had these fools, the Cyber Ninja, come in. They did their recount, however methodology they used, and they found that Biden won by 360 votes, whatever Patrick said, more. But the scary thing about it, scarier thing about it, is that even within that, these Cyber Ninjas recommended changes to the way votes and elections are held because they had concerns about this, that, and the third, setting up the rationale for the next election, not only in Arizona but United States wide,
Countrywide.
where they can
Gerrymandering.
obviate, no, beyond gerrymandering,
Yeah, right.
obviate the result of the election. They are now setting up statewide laws that say that an elected body in the legislature can take a final vote tally and just wipe it out and obviate and say it doesn't matter. We say that it was dirty, so we're going to decide who.
Right.
That's end of democracy.
But
And they've been crying for the end of democracy with their games because last thing I'll say is the Republicans are comprised of male European culture that is now being diminished by the changing demographics of the country. Women are more empowered.
Yep.
Minorities are growing in population and are more empowered, more energized to actually go out to the polls and vote, not intimidated to. And with that, they won't be able to maintain their power structure.
Right.
So the last resort is say, we don't even want
Change the
democracy
rules.
anymore.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no,
right.
no. Screw democracy. We're going to have an authoritarianism with the makeup of democracy, just like you see Central South America, Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
You were saying, Chuck.
with
Yeah.
the sham of democracy.
Shell of democracy, exactly.
Yeah, they're taking gerrymandering into hyperspace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've always done things that they win.
Well,
The whole system is set up.
yeah. Well, the way what they're doing now, they know that in 8 years, I was reading something that they were saying in 8 years, Texas and a few more of these states going to be, going to be where they could be Democratic,
Yeah.
And right now, if you look at Georgia, Texas, Florida, and
Arkansas.
yeah, I mean these Republicans are trying their best to set up something where harder to vote, and
Well, look at the history. Just let's go back to 2016. Stacey Abrams won Georgia's gubernatorial election. No two ways about it.
Yeah. Right.
But Brian Kemp, who was the Secretary of State at the time, was able to use his powers to rig the election. So if they want to talk about rigged votes, if they want to talk about schemes to deny the American people of democratic processes, they should look in the mirror, and they know that.
They know
Brian
that.
Kemp now, who is in the position of governor and had to certify the election in 2020 when Trump lost in Georgia, found himself saying, yeah, I got away with it, but you can't get away with it because it's too obvious.
Yeah.
And you saw the same thing in Florida.
Yeah.
I forget the brother's name now who got caught up in a drug scandal after the election, but he almost certainly beat the Florida governor, Mattis,
Yeah.
Governor Mattis. He almost certainly beat him, but they were able to rig the system in
Right.
order to make him now. They're going to the point now, they're saying, look, we don't have to go through all the machinations and tricks. We're just going to declare this election suspect
Question for you
and
guys.
technology. and we're wiping it out, and we're going to appoint who's going to be our leaders.
Now, could we, in all honesty, say what is coming is going to be a fair election?
No.
Is it
no.
legal?
No.
More lies.
The only thing that can be done, and this is where it comes down to two sellout traders who are demonstrably sellouts, demonstrably traitors, is Sinema out of Colorado
Yeah.
and Manchin out of West Virginia. Sinema made her bona fides coming out of the Wall Street boycott Wall Street movement. She ran her first race saying that we should negotiate pricing, drug pricing on Medicaid and prevent the big pharma corporations.
But what is she saying?
But
to
now
me?
she's saying we don't want to negotiate prices. We should leave that alone and let the market determine. The market doesn't determine
No.
that the government pay list price for drugs and not use its leverage as the biggest customer to get a lower price. Canada does it. The United Kingdom does it.
Yep.
France does it. Anybody with a brain says, I'm not going to
Exactly.
pay the same price. I'm not going to pay your list price.
Right.
You don't buy a car at list price.
Right.
You got, but she's okay with that now. You have to ask why. Joe Manchin is a Democrat, but he, for all practical purposes,
He's a
he
Republican.
caucuses with the
Yeah,
Republicans.
yeah.
Listen, guys.
And you have to ask why. The man is corrupt. He's in bed with the oil lobby. He's in bed with the coal
Okay,
lobby.
you bring it
lobby.
out. You
Okay,
bring
yeah,
it
go.
out. You brought it out there, Dennis. These people are in bed with
Yeah.
certain peoples who don't want these things to happen, and therefore, knowing that they don't have any wiggle room, they holding the Democrats hostage. All 48 of these Democrats are held hostage by these two because they want it their way, only to appease
Well-
certain people. I sent an email to Manchin and I pointed out to him, your constituents are okay with what Biden is proposing. They are clamoring for what this bill is suggesting. Those are who you have to listen to.
Well,
Well, that's the point, because if we're talking about them corrupting the electoral process, but you could segue right into, like you just did, to the infrastructure bill, the 3.5 trillion.
Yeah.
Wildly popular all over the country.
Every
you
place.
ask any group, any demographic, what they want to see with the government, and they want to see the roads, the
Yeah,
bridges, the
road,
highways.
yeah.
They want to see child care improved. They want to see junior college be free. All the things that are in the bill, but their leaders are against it, especially, like you said, in West Virginia, where they have some of the poorest counties anywhere
Yes.
in the world.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me that Joe Manchin is more concerned about big coal and big oil?
Right, right.
That's where he gets his money.
It's exactly, he's corrupted. He's absolutely
Yeah.
corrupted. So now I think one thing we've got ahead of us that could be to our advantage, if you look at what the Republicans have been saying in the last few days, because we're coming up against this artificial barrier of raising the budget debt limit, a tool put in place by the Republicans about 25 years ago.
Yep.
That's completely artificial.
Yep.
But it could cause us for the first time to default on our debts. And I don't think people understand what this means. Because when you talk about the national debt, most people think we just borrow a bunch of money, like you and I would go to the bank and say, I want to put a patio on the back of my house. I want to restructure my kitchen or redecorate the bathroom. No. Most of our debt comes from sovereign governments like China
Yeah.
and wealthy individuals saying, you know what, I got surplus cash, and I need to put this someplace where I can have it safe and held and earn a guaranteed interest.
Yeah.
And that's in U.S. Treasury bills. Those
Right.
T-bills are the gold standard for the world. And that's the reason why the dollar is the default currency worldwide. Everybody
yes.
compares their sovereign currency to the dollar,
Right.
not to gold,
Right.
not to platinum, not to silver, because if you did that, Africa would have the richest
Yeah.
countries in the world.
Exactly.
But what they do is they compare it, or they structure it comparative to the U.S. dollar. So these fools are coming along saying, we're not going to do it. We're not going to
Right.
raise a debt ceiling. We default on that. All of a sudden, China may become, the yen may become the default currency. And all of a sudden, all these advantages we have of being able to write money to pay down our debts out of our whim is gone. And these people saying, yeah, let them default. Okay,
That'll
be careful. Yes,
understand.
your Social Security check's gonna bounce,
Right.
player.
Yeah.
Your Medicaid and your mama-in-law and the breathing treatments,
Right.
that's gone.
Right.
But-
Well,
So ask, make sure your raggedy butt knows what you're asking for.
well,
Is that why they're shooting down that cyber money?
Well, that's a different thing, but it's the same type of threat. It's the same type of alternative to U.S. currency. Now, right now, it's not being used by governments,
Right.
the big pools of money, but you are seeing wealthy individuals and companies diversify their portfolio with that type of currency. Absolutely.
well, we'll see. Me and Patrick was talking. The Democrats, they voted. Oh yeah. We can't let. When Trump was in there, all the Democrats voted, and now the Republicans saying no.
They voted to raise the debt ceiling despite the fact there are things in there they didn't like,
They
like
didn't
the
like.
stupid wall
Right.
or other things. But
Yeah.
they said, for the good of the
Yeah.
nation.
Yeah.
But these
Exactly.
Republicans are so anti-U.S.
Right.
And such traitors. They're saying, I don't care.
Right.
We don't want. And the ironic thing about it, fellas, is the debt is theirs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not to pay for future obligations.
Yeah.
This is to pay for
Something already
obligations that have
spent.
already been
Yeah.
generated
Yeah.
by the Trump
Yeah.
administration.
Yeah.
And they're saying we're not going to pay the
Yeah.
bill. Okay, be careful what you ask for. But my final point on this is it could finally leverage the Democrats to say to Manchin and Sinema, all right, we're going to do this on a party line basis. We're going to say that with respect to voting rights and the debt, that there is no way to come up with a way to block it. We're going to end the filibuster on those two issues, just like the Republicans did
Yeah.
when they blocked filibusters on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And that's going to put Manchin and Sinema in the trick bag. It's going to say, look, we've either got to fish or cut bait.
Right.
If we want to see this country's credibility and its dominance as the currency of first level continue, we're going to have to vote for making that filibuster proof.
Right.
That's what's going to have
Right.
to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so complicated because it's a domino thing. You just can't take one thing out of the puzzle. And Trump is not intelligent enough as a human being to monitor all this information that's being thrown out there in society today, because everything's like on a spider web, is real flimsy. The whole thing had collapsed. So I understand what
But
you're saying.
Trump doesn't. Trump. I agree with you. He's not an intelligent man. But I don't think it's a matter of because if it was a matter of intellectual horsepower, he wouldn't have so many people in his corner saying, "Yeah, go ahead and do it." Because there's plenty smart people who are Republicans. There are plenty smart
But
people like
plenty of the
Robert
so-called
Kagan.
smart
But
people are
what they
supporting
want to
him.
see happen is they are at the point now where they're saying, if it ain't our way,
Right.
ain't no way.
Right. That's what they're saying. You were saying, Patrick.
Yeah, when you back with Dennis, the Republicans, their stance on this. Listen to McConnell. Well, the debt ceiling has to be raised, and it needs to, and it should be done. But the Democrats will do it.
Have to do it alone.
We're not doing anything on it.
Right.
Now, you approved this debt when you were the man in
Yeah.
the Senate.
Yeah.
Speaker of the House.
You know, the man in the Senate. He was the leader of the
Senate Majority Leader,
the,
right.
the majority.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now he is minority leader. Oh, we're not gonna do it. Well, wait a second.
But see, McConnell's not dumb. So why is
We
he
know.
doing that, Patrick?
Huh?
Why is he doing that?
Yeah.
He is trying to make the Democrats look bad.
Well,
Number one, it goes back. He wants to make Biden look bad. He wants Biden to fail with the hopes that when they default, they're going to be able to run in next year and take over. But, like you say, be careful what you ask for. Because when the people begin to learn, and this is where my problem with the Democrats, they don't talk enough.
No,
All like now, they should be talking to the people and letting them know exactly what is at stake. Don't leave it up to the people on MSNBC and wherever else to be saying it.
Yeah.
That's
Well-
all you're hearing it. You're not getting it from the politicians
Right,
themselves.
but when you deal with deceptions, you're going to lose direction, and that's all they're doing. They're making a fool of themselves because it's going to bite them in the butt.
Well, you know, and then
Well,
the
the bite will come if the populace really get to know what's happening.
Well, but the
they
thing-
don't know.
Yeah, they're
and
cooking.
they are going to just run to the poll and vote without really knowing what
What's
they're
going on?
voting for.
Yeah.
Kevin McCarthy, he's another one. The minority leader in the House.
Yeah, yeah.
He wants to be speaker so bad. But some of his own people say no way he could be.
Yeah.
And this is the man. Look, think about it. I can drop in something else here. The January 6th fiasco they had
The lynch mob?
at the Capitol.
Yeah.
They have, the House has a committee, select committee, working on this now. But guess what? Everybody crying foul. Oh, this, that. And of course, all these conspiracy theories. I don't know if you guys heard this woman Jones, Taylor Greene, the other day. Nancy was speaking, and she come there heckling. The woman doesn't even have the proper little piece of class
Well-
to know when to shut up and when to speak up. She yaps so much. She's threatening people with guns
Right.
and all this kind of thing. She has no business in there.
well,
Well, she thinks the lie is the truth.
and you know, I think a lot of these Republicans, they know right from wrong, but they know, for one thing, is that as long as they seem like they're with Trump, that's about 27, 28, 29% of the votes.
Did
they
you
need.
guys see this guy, a Republican, decided he's not going to run next year?
Yeah, because of his
Because-
his kids and his family. He says, you know.
Well, they're threatening him and his family
Right.
because he voted against Trump.
Right.
Well, this is something that's been building again for years and years, where nowadays you see people like Marjorie Taylor Greene heckling the House Majority Leader. You see the same woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Bobbitt, implying that they're going to show up at events, Democratic events, with guns and their mob. There used to be such thing as decorum.
They don't.
And people who were in elected office acted with a certain level of decorum, and they would have been embarrassed. They would have been embarrassed to have anybody on the staff act that way, let alone themselves. And if they did act that way, there used to be a time where if a Republican got caught in the bathroom stall, a married Republican man in the bathroom stall flirting with another dude because he was a closeted gay, that inappropriate behavior would have been enough to get him out of office. There
And it
used to
has
be a
gotten
time
somebody out.
where if you acted in a certain juvenile, inappropriate way, that would be enough. Now,
Anything
they truly represent their base. Their base is loud, profane,
Yep.
violent,
Yeah.
ignorant, uneducated,
Yeah.
and their representatives are now that.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
they're down to, because the people who actually do have conservative viewpoints and have an idea about how the economy should work that's anathema to, say, Keynesian economic principles, or the way that we should approach civil rights and legal rights is different than what it is on the left. There's a legitimate argument to be made there, but they don't even attract those type of people
No.
anymore. They attract the very bottom of the barrel, cultivated and fertilized by Rush Limbaugh and
Right.
Fox
Yeah.
News and all that.
Trailer
And
park.
that's what,
Yeah.
we have the worst of the worst now. And we're coming to a point now where the unmanageable is ungovernable.
Right. Yeah, and to me, for the first time, I can see white people coming unraveled.
Well,
Well, I wish I could say it was just white people.
Yeah.
It's all
there-
people.
but there's a certain
Yeah.
level of there's a
Yeah.
certain personality out here in society that is attracted by authoritarianism. They want a strong government.
Yeah.
I've had arguments with brothers.
yeah.
And you've seen them, because when we had our group, they used to show up. Oh man, we need somebody just come in and straighten all this out.
Yeah.
No man, You don't have somebody straighten out your business. You straighten out your business.
That's
A
right.
representative of the government does that. You don't turn it over to a strong man. And there are people out here, majority white, but there are plenty
Yeah,
of coons
Yeah.
and Hispanics and Asians who, right, they want that tough guy. But they're a small minority.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because of gerrymandering and corruption,
Yeah.
you know, that we call campaign finance laws and
Yeah.
donations, they don't have to listen to the
Right.
majority.
Right.
They listen to their small piece and get it amplified
Yeah.
on right-wing radio and TV, and off
Yeah.
they go. And here we go,
Unfortunately.
moving towards a system where we won't have a democracy
And
anymore.
that's what showed up at the Capitol.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. You
Absolutely.
see, they're exposing themselves.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, elections now have thrown aside reason and substance.
Right.
No
It
truth.
is all about money.
Yeah.
Who
Power.
can spend more money has the chance of winning.
What-
We need to get some of this dark money, as they call it, out. People got to be able to get up there and stand up and say, look, here is the situation. Here is how I propose to modify it, correct it. But no, they resort to who can tell the biggest lie, who can be the most conniving.
Yeah. The
And,
lobbyists.
and you know, it's ridiculous.
Well,
A lot of money being thrown around.
yeah, and the thing is that still we've got Satan people, Republicans, they're gonna win because of that 27 or 28.
I wouldn't be so sure that they're gonna win.
Yeah. Well, they're doing things that's illegal.
Well,
But that's the way
They're
the
doing
game
a
is
lot
played.
of illegal things.
When you're a minority, a demographic minority, but you still have legislative power,
Mhm.
you have to ask how you maintain it. How'd you get in the first place, and
Right.
how do you maintain it?
Right.
You maintain it by suppressing votes.
Yeah.
You maintain it by corrupting elections
Changing the
with
finish line.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when those two things don't work, then you just say the vote wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
Like Trump did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop the
Trump
steal.
got ahead of it. Yeah, stop the steal. Trump got ahead of the game. Going back to something you said earlier, Trump isn't necessarily the most intelligent man in the world. Okay, we all agree on that.
Right.
But what he does have, he has his lizard type brain,
Yeah.
where he's laser focused on this one thing and this one idea, and it's the same base, ignorant conclusion
Yeah.
that his base makes.
Right.
It's unfair. These women,
Yeah.
these blacks,
Yeah.
these foreigners, these immigrants,
Yeah.
they're taking all my stuff away.
Yeah.
If they ever cared to pick up a book or look back in history, they would find out that the reason why they're in such perilous condition economically, the reason why their children are walking around with holes in the teeth and glasses that don't work, et cetera, their wife is laying in bed with diseases that can't seem to get any better, is because you gave it all away yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you had the good union job, when you had the place up north, 2 cars in the garage, a little college fund for
Yeah.
your kids,
Yeah.
that wasn't good enough for you because you saw some black people starting to get some things. You saw some women starting to get some things.
Yeah.
And you saw Reagan come up there and start talking about the welfare
Yeah.
queen
Yeah.
and the big black buck, and you got electrified.
Yeah.
And you ran in mass from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. And this is the outcome. This is what you asked for.
Yeah.
Because you got in bed with snakes who don't give a damn about you.
Right.
They're wealthy people.
Yeah.
Right.
Lay down with dogs, you
But
wake
you
up
know
with
something?
fleas.
There you
Yeah.
go.
You're talking about Trump. He's not the brightest. We know that. But the man is a predator.
Yeah.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.